Well, to talk to us about that current volcanic eruption and what happens as the lava enters the sea is Ben Island. Good evening, Ben.
Good evening. How are you?
Okay, Ben. Thank you for joining us. Ben, sorry, you were the last replacement there for Rosie. You couldn't join us. Your description, Ben, is that are you similar to Rosie, a GeoIntern of some sorts?
Yes. So I'm a GeoIntern with a company called GeoTenerife.
And you're currently based out in La Palma, there in Spain, Tenerife, Spain. Am I correct?
Yes. We're about maybe 5 kilometers from the eruption at the minute.
Ben, tell us, what's the current situation in La Palma? I mean, many of us who come from countries, be it in Europe or like here in South Africa, I mean, we've never experienced a volcanic eruption close by. How is the mood and how is La Palma at the moment? I mean, people on edge, are they concerned for their safety? Are you guys okay?
Yeah, so obviously it's pretty unprecedented situation. I mean, we've never experienced anything like this. I think there's a lot of different feelings going around. Of course, there's been a lot of destruction. Here, it's very sad to see a lot of people losing their homes, but at the same time, and obviously not to diminish that, in terms of the whole island of La Palma, I think less than 1% of the island, has been currently covered by the lava. So a lot of the island, apart from maybe ashfall, is sort of business as usual, and the majority of the population here are quite safe.
For a person in geology or any field of the geos, this must be like a textbook coming to life. You read about it and the type of destruction or the type of flow and what will happen when it solidifies. But those folks who have got an interest in what's in the bowels of the earth, I'm sure they would be taking a keen look at post and current events.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've spent the last 4 weeks before coming out here in Tenerife with GeoTenerife as an intern, so learning all about these sort of volcanic processes on Tenerife. So then to straight away be able to go and experience it on this other island, it's just putting into practice pretty much everything I've been learning about, and as you say, it's a textbook example of this kind of activity. That's been fascinating to me, sort of as someone interested in geology and everything. And there's a hell of a lot of monitoring and research going on, on the volcano at the minute, and I'm sure once the eruption's stopped, the research on this eruption will continue.
Ben, when it comes to, lava reaching the sea, and I'm sure many people will attest to it, that our exposure to it primarily because of, the geographic programs or the science programs out there, and they mainly cover the Hawaiian volcanoes. I remember seeing one of those, and in fact, I think a Reunion eruption a few years back, the island of Reunion, where the lava reaches the sea. But talk to us about the process itself. I mean, this is actually an addition of land. Inevitably, it will be good for the island, good eventually for the inhabitants, but all around nature wins in a tremendous way when this happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite telling, on La Palma, sort of a lot of the coastline is sort of tall cliffs, but sort of in other areas where we've had lava reach the sea, quite recently, we have these sort of low extending platforms, and actually just to the south of where the lava is currently entering the sea, there is sort of a bit of low-lying coastline, which was actually formed by the lava flows in 1949 in one of the other recent eruptions here, and in fact that area now is covered in banana plantations, which is sort of the principal crop of the island, and also maybe in the short term marine life may go away, but as you said earlier, marine life comes back more strongly, and it's new life, new habitat for all sorts of wildlife.
The social impacts, Ben, of a volcanic eruption on a small place like La Palma. I mean, it is an island. You've got limited space to maneuver around. One thing is the actual evacuation. But do you have a sense of, a foul smell in the air, ash covering everywhere, making life unpleasant? I mean, is it any of those things out there on the island?
Certainly very close to the site of the eruption. There's been a lot of ashfall, and you may be able to smell sort of the odd burning smell, but sort of from the volcano directly, sort of the ashfall once you get further away is sort of quite minimal. It gets swept up by people, but it doesn't really affect the daily lives too much. It just depends on the wind direction, really. I mean, we've seen the airport on the other side of the island, closed and open a few times, just due to wind blowing, more ash that way. But actually, one sort of secondary impact, I guess you'd say, which did affect us the other night, was as the lava flows were advancing, they started to go through and burn these banana plantations, and the plantations sort of have a lot of sort of plastic greenhouses and netting on them, as well as sort of a lot of storage of chemicals. So that produced, some quite, dense, smoky clouds, which, we could smell from quite a way away. And they were quite disruptive. But thankfully, now the lava's reached the sea, it seems to be taking, at least for the minute, a fairly, sort of constant path down to the sea, so there hasn't been sort of that much additional destruction in the last sort of day or so.
Ben, I mean, with your knowledge and the advancement of geosciences, I mean, people have tried like forever to predict, the next big earthquake, the next tsunami, the next volcanic eruption on an island. How close are we, or have we got it maybe, right in some ways, that we are able to now identify patterns in certain parts of the earth or the world to inform people that you are in for some sort of a event in the next few years?
I mean, in terms of so-called predicting volcanic eruptions, I'd say you can never 100% predict them, because that implies exact date, magnitude, whatever. What we can do is look at sort of precursory signals. So the most important ones here were earthquakes, and also deformation of the ground. So what we saw sort of in the coming week or so before the eruption, we saw that the ground surrounding the eruption site was uplifting, and we also saw an increase of seismic activity, and called seismic tremor, actually getting shallower, which was indicating that magma was moving towards the surface. But nonetheless, that can only tell us, it might be more certain that at a certain time that an eruption may occur. We definitely can't predict exactly where, exactly when, or an eruption will happen. And another thing is, the size of eruption is very variable, and it is something that is, at the minute, very, very difficult to predict beforehand.
Ben, finally, before I let you go this evening, how soon does land normally recover after a lava flow? I mean, would it depend on various other external factors, rainfall, etc.? But in this case of La Palma, how soon is it expected that this land that was once upon a time farmland or productive in some way recover to some sense of normalcy and productivity?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It just depends, really. The lava flows, they can take, weeks and sort of months to recover. It will cool completely. And actually, it takes, an extremely long time, for them to sort of, erode sufficiently, I guess, to to start forming soil on them. In the case of previous eruptions here, I know I mentioned that there were plantations on what was the some of the 1949 lava flows. What's happened there is that La Palma has actually imported soil from elsewhere and has, covered the area affected by the lava flow with that soil, and has been able to make productive land on top of that. I guess it's just a question of economics for the government, really. As we've said, there's not been a massive area affected in terms of the whole island, and some sort of reconverting these lava flows into sort of workable land could be quite an undertaking.
Ben Island, thank you so much for joining us this evening for us here in South Africa and educating us what's happening on your part of the world there in La Palma. Thank you for your time, and cheers to you, Ben.
Cheers, no problem. Thanks for your time.